My name is Harper Simmons, and I'm 29 years old. 6 months ago, I made what everyone considered the biggest mistake of my life. I let my younger brother Marcus take over running our family's Italian restaurant known as Kitchen. What they didn't know was that I had secretly purchased the building 3 years earlier when the previous landlord was facing bankruptcy. I used my trust fund money, something I'd never told my family about. Marcus had always been the golden child, the one Dad believed had real business sense, while I was just playing restaurant with my culinary degree. Now, watching him swagger around like he owns the place, I'm starting to think it's time he learned who really holds the power here. Marcus struts through the dining room every evening like he's conquered Rome itself. At 26, he's always had this insufferable confidence that comes from being Dad's favorite son. He never went to culinary school like I did, never worked a day in the kitchen before this. But somehow, Dad decided he was better suited to take the business to the next level. Meanwhile, I've been relegated to weekend prep cook, watching him butcher recipes that took me years to perfect. He's hired his college buddies as managers, installed flat-screen TVs that clash with our rustic decor, and changed the menu to include fusion dishes that would make Nonna roll in her grave. The regular customers keep asking me what happened to the old recipes, but Marcus just laughs it off. The worst part isn't even Marcus's incompetence. It's how the whole family treats me now. Dad acts like I'm some kind of failure who couldn't handle the pressure of running a business. Mom keeps suggesting I find a nice office job since I'm clearly not cut out for this. My sister Elena, who's never worked a day in food service, constantly makes snide comments about how I had my chance and blew it. They all act like I'm lucky Marcus even lets me work there part-time. Last Sunday at family dinner, Dad actually said I should be grateful that Marcus was generous enough to keep me employed. I smiled and nodded, sipping my wine, knowing that I could evict them all with 30 days' notice if I wanted to. What really gets under my skin is how Marcus talks to our staff. Maria, who's been our head waitress for 15 years, gets treated like she's incompetent. Tony, our longtime bartender, has been demoted to busboy half the time. Marcus hired 3 of his fraternity brothers at premium wages while cutting hours for our experienced workers. He struts around in expensive suits, talking about maximizing profit margins and streamlining operations, which apparently means firing anyone over 40. Last week, he actually told Maria that maybe it's time for fresh blood around here. I wanted to remind him that Maria was teaching him how to fold napkins when he was 12, but I bit my tongue. I'm saving my words for when they'll have maximum impact. The breaking point came last Tuesday when Marcus announced he was restructuring my position. Apparently, I'm now kitchen support staff rather than assistant manager, which means my hours are being cut to 20 per week and I'm losing my healthcare benefits. He delivered this news in front of the entire staff with that smug smile of his, like he was doing me some kind of favor. "Harper, I think this arrangement will be better for everyone," he said, adjusting his tie. "You'll have more time to pursue other interests." The implication was clear. He wanted me gone entirely, but didn't have the guts to fire his own sister outright. That's when I decided it was time to remind my dear brother who actually signs his paychecks. I've been watching Marcus make increasingly bold moves, each one more expensive than the last. He's planning a grand relaunch party for next month, complete with a hired PR firm and local food critics. He's already spent $12,000 on renovations, including those hideous TVs and new furniture that looks like it belongs in a sports bar rather than an Italian restaurant. Yesterday, he proudly showed Dad the contracts he'd signed for a catering expansion, complete with 3 new delivery trucks and additional staff. He's borrowed heavily against what he thinks is his restaurant's future earnings. The bank statements I receive as building owner show he's leveraged everything. including equipment loans secured against the property. Marcus has no idea he's been making plans with money he doesn't have, in a building he doesn't own. The grand relaunch party is scheduled for Saturday night, and Marcus has invited everyone: family, friends, local business owners, food critics, even the mayor. He's been bragging about how he's finally bringing Nana's Kitchen into the 21st century, and how this will be the night that changes everything. The irony is delicious. He's hired a photographer, ordered custom menus, and even arranged for a small stage where he plans to give a speech about his vision for the restaurant's future. Dad's been telling everyone who'll listen how proud he is of Marcus's innovative leadership. I RSVP'd like everyone else, confirming I'll be there as kitchen support staff. Marcus actually laughed when he saw my response, telling Elena that at least I knew my place now. Last night, Marcus cornered me after service with the biggest grin I've ever seen on his face. "Harper, I hope you understand why I had to make these changes," he said, leaning against the prep counter with his arms crossed. "Running a business isn't like following recipes. It takes vision, leadership skills you just don't have." He went on to explain how he's been protecting me from the harsh realities of business ownership, how I should be grateful he's keeping me employed at all. "Maybe someday you'll understand what it really takes to succeed in this industry," he concluded, patting my shoulder like I was a child. I smiled sweetly and thanked him for the valuable lesson. Tomorrow night, he's going to learn what it really means to be taught something you'll never forget. Saturday evening arrives with Marcus in his element, greeting guests in a custom-tailored navy suit that probably cost more than most of our staff make in a month. The restaurant is packed with everyone who matters in our small town: business leaders, city council members, food bloggers, and half our extended family. Marcus has positioned himself near the entrance like some kind of receiving line, shaking hands and accepting congratulations on his incredible transformation of the restaurant. Dad stands beside him, beaming with pride, while Mom fusses over the flower arrangements. I'm in my server's uniform, carrying appetizer trays and watching everyone celebrate Marcus's success. The photographer Marcus hired is documenting everything, capturing what he thinks will be his triumphant moment. Perfect. Around 8 o'clock, Marcus taps his wine glass and calls for everyone's attention. The dining room quiets as he takes the small stage, microphone in hand, looking every bit the successful young entrepreneur he believes himself to be. "Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends," he begins, his voice carrying that familiar tone of self-satisfaction. "Tonight marks a new chapter for Nana's Kitchen. Under my leadership, we've revolutionized this establishment while honoring our family's legacy." He goes on about his innovative vision and bold business decisions, painting himself as the savior who rescued a failing restaurant from incompetent management. The crowd applauds politely, and I can see Dad wiping away tears of pride. Marcus raises his glass for a toast. "To the future of Nana's Kitchen. My restaurant, my rules, my success." As the applause dies down, I step forward from the back of the room, still wearing my server's uniform, but carrying a manila folder that Marcus doesn't recognize yet. "Excuse me," I say, my voice calm, but carrying clearly through the restaurant's sound system as I approach the microphone. "I hate to interrupt, but I think there's been a misunderstanding about ownership that needs to be cleared up." Marcus's confident smile falters slightly as murmurs ripple through the crowd. I reach the stage and smile at my brother, who's looking increasingly uncomfortable. Marcus has done such a wonderful job talking about his restaurant that I almost forgot to mention a tiny detail. I open the folder and pull out the property deed, holding it up for everyone to see. I actually own this building, have for 3 years now. The silence in the restaurant is deafening. Marcus stares at the deed like it's written in a foreign language, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and dawning horror. "That's impossible," He stammers into the microphone, which is still live. Dad sold the building years ago to pay for renovations. I shake my head, smiling patiently. No, Marcus. Dad sold it to me. With my trust fund money, the inheritance from Grandma Rose that none of you knew about. The crowd is hanging on every word as I continue. Every month, you've been paying rent to my property management company. Every renovation you've made needed my approval as building owner. Every loan you've secured is actually backed by my property. Marcus's face has gone completely white as the implications sink in. The food critics are taking notes. The photographer is still snapping pictures. Furthermore, I continue, pulling out a thick stack of papers. As building owner, I've been reviewing all the business expenses charged against the property. Marcus, you've been using restaurant funds for personal expenses, misclassifying family dinners as business meetings, and paying your fraternity friends inflated salaries for jobs they're not qualified to do. Dad steps forward, looking stunned. But I'm not finished. You've also violated several clauses in your lease agreement by making unauthorized structural changes and dismissing long-term employees without cause. I turn to address the crowd directly. The innovative leadership Marcus just described has actually driven this restaurant $60,000 into debt in 6 months. The mayor's eyebrows shoot up. The food critics are scribbling furiously. Marcus looks like he might be sick. The aftermath is swift and brutal. Dad stands frozen in the middle of the dining room, staring between Marcus and me like he can't process what just happened. Mom starts crying, though I can't tell if it's from embarrassment or pride. Elena, for once in her life, is completely speechless. The business leaders who were shaking Marcus's hand 20 minutes ago are now distinctly avoiding eye contact. One of the food critics approaches me to ask about the real story behind Nana's kitchen, completely ignoring Marcus, who's still standing on the stage looking shell-shocked. The photographer, sensing a much better story than a simple restaurant relaunch, asks if he can interview me about being a young female property owner in the hospitality industry. Marcus finally stumbles off the stage and disappears into the kitchen. His custom suit wrinkled and his confidence shattered. By Sunday morning, the story has spread through our entire town like marinara sauce on a white tablecloth. The local newspaper wants to do a feature on hidden female entrepreneurs, and 2 business podcasts have reached out for interviews. Marcus hasn't shown up to the restaurant, and Dad spent the morning apologizing to our longtime staff members for how they've been treated. Maria actually hugged me when I told her she's not only getting her full hours back, but also a raise and the title of general manager. Tony will be returning to his head bartender position, and I'm terminating the contracts with Marcus's incompetent fraternity friends effective immediately. The best part? The lease agreement I had Marcus sign gives me the right to remove any business operator who damages the property's reputation or financial standing. Guess who just qualified for eviction? This morning, I'm sitting in my office, the real one, in the building I own, reviewing applications from actual qualified restaurant managers. Marcus can keep playing businessman somewhere else. I'm taking back what was always mine to begin with. The trust fund Grandma Rose left me wasn't just money. It was freedom. The power to make my own choices without asking permission from men who think they know better. Dad called this morning to discuss the situation, but I let it go to voicemail. I have work to do, a restaurant to rebuild, and a reputation to restore. Marcus learned that assumptions can be expensive, but I learned something even more valuable. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people show you exactly who they are, then revealing exactly who you've always been.